This is Legacy Battle. Make sure you hit like and subscribe at whatever you're watching on. I'm Michael Adams, creator of Legacy Battle. My panelists tonight from the Gridiron Battle Zone, Brian King. From Steelers Nation South, Rollo Coughlin. And we have a special guest panelist, Nicole Felce. I'm sure you've seen her on our prior show, and she's part of the Epson Tour, so she's going to fit right into this debate perfectly tonight. But our special guests, we're joined by LPGA alum. She also played on the Futures Tour from 87 to 91. She's got 5 career professional wins. She's a Florida Gator, so we love our Floridians down here. 1986, she's All-American first team. She's a 2-time All-American overall. She's won the individual national championship and was the recipient of the Broderick Award given to the best woman athlete in their sport. So we got Gator Hall of Famer here, Paige Dunlap. Paige, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks for having me. You did your homework, so I really appreciate that. It takes me back a long way. And, those were good days. A lot of fun.
We love the orange and blue here, so I do at least. I don't know about the other guys. They could.
They may not.
Yeah, they could be what is it? Pewter and cranberry or whatever that is.
Yeah,
so
whatever.
Seminole. Yeah.
That's right.
But anyways, we'll have our Q&A for Paige afterwards, of course. So tonight's debate is going to be the greatest women's golfer of all time. And if you're a fan of women's sports, go in that archives. We've done the greatest women's racer, tennis player, soccer defensive players. So we're adding to that list here tonight. And we're going to start out with Mickey Wright.
Okay, Mickey Wright, a super OG of women's golf. The LPGA was formed in 1950, and she burst onto the scene in 1955 and, really became the first star of the LPGA. Mickey was on the LPGA Tour for 15 seasons, and she ultimately had to retire much earlier than she wanted to because of nagging injuries with her feet. But during that abbreviated career, she won 82 LPGA events, which is still the second most all time. And she won 13 majors, which is also second all time. From 1956 to 1969, she had a streak of 14 seasons with at least one LPGA championship. And in both 1963 and 1964, she was the Associated Press's Female Athlete of the Year. So that's across all sports. And the pro golf legend, Ben Hogan, well, we all know Ben Hogan, absolute legend. He once called her swing the best that he had ever seen. In 2009, Golf Magazine ranked her as the 8th greatest golfer of all time, the greatest female ever. So not bad for a lady whose career was cut short. Had she stayed relatively healthy, who knows? Because she had to retire when she was 34. Some of the other ones on this list tonight, they went to, up into their 40s. So perhaps her records never would have been eclipsed.
So Paige, I come to you here. My first question is, because I'm also representing an older player here a little bit later.
Okay. Is
the competition maybe a little weaker back in the day than what it was, maybe for Annika, who we're going to talk about too, but and even today, was the competition not as strong as it is today?
Right. I think, that is clearly an issue that you'd have to look at in terms of who they were competing against during the 50s compared to what Annika's career was, all through the late 90s and into the 2000s. Equipment has improved greatly, just the stature of players, their fitness, the golf courses that we're playing now and in the 90s was clearly golf courses were in better shape. But yeah, I would say when you look at Mickey Wright and you look at Patty Berg and their careers, both of them, blazed a trail for all the rest of us who went on to, play after them. Same with Kathy Whitworth, but the level of competition was not what it is now, what it is today, for sure.
And I don't know if you'll know this or not, but so we had Diana Crump on. She was the first woman to ever race in the Kentucky Derby, and she got a lot of go back into the kitchen comments, things like that. Were women in golf at that time receiving that kind of feedback? Or do you know about that at all, maybe?
That's a good question. I imagine they did, just because it was prevalent in every area of society and in work. Women at that point in time, you were talking about just post World War II. They were still working in the home, were not career oriented like they are now and need to be, given the economy. So yes, I'm sure that they had to withstand some of those comments that were made. I'm fortunate enough to be just at that age where my first years on tour, Kathy Whitworth was still playing. We played the sprint event in Tallahassee. Mickey Wright was there. My last U.S. Open in '96 was at Pumpkin Ridge, and Patty Berg was there. So, and also when I was in high school, Patty Berg was still doing clinics going around the country and, garnering all kinds of real support for the LPGA and just women's golf in general. So I had an opportunity to meet all of these players, and especially, Whit, because she was really out on tour when I was still playing. And so, you could appreciate and understand that they had really set the table for all of us, and that their careers were enabling the rest of us to go on and have the LPGA Tour in the state that it is today, is because all the things that they withstood to start the tour. And if you look back when Patty Berg was first, getting things going, because she really was the engine behind it all, Patty Berg. And she had just a charismatic personality that was second to none. And there couldn't have been a better ambassador for the tour than Patty Berg, because she just was the light in the room. She was hilariously funny and tremendously successful. So, it takes those special kinds of people to take on a venture like the LPGA Tour and make women's golf a reality, professional women's golf a reality. Yeah.
Well, keep what you just said in mind when we vote later, what you said about Patty, because I'm representing Patty later.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Kathy Whitworth.
Kathy Whitworth. Kathy Whitworth was from Monahan, Texas, and she turned pro in 1958. She went to the LPGA Tour, and based off her career wins, you would think she would have came on and had like gangbusters, but she didn't. She actually didn't win her first LPGA event until 1962. But from 1962 to 1985, she won 88 LPGA events. During that time period, she had more than any woman or man that was on the PGA or LPGA Tour. She also was runner-up 93 times. So she finished first or second 181 times in her career. She had 6 wins in a major LPGA events. She finished second twice. She was the 8-time LPGA Tour Player of the Year, 7-time Bear Trophy given to the top golfer with the lowest scoring average, 7 times. She was the AP Female Athlete of the Year twice, and won the Patty Berg Trophy in '87. She was also the first LPGA to earn $1 million in 1981. Ooh. She was named Golfer of the Decade for the years of 1968 to 1977 by Golf Magazine. And she was also enshrined in the World Golf Hall of Fame in 1975. She also is in 4 different Hall of Fames: the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, New Mexico Sports Hall of Fame, the Texas Golf Hall of Fame, and the Women's Sports Foundation Hall of Fame. Give her her due. Give her her due. She's got the numbers, she's got the accolades, and she has the money.
Yeah, hey, money talks on this show. I'll give you that for sure. So, Paige, you said you've actually played with Kathy. So, obviously, this was in her later years. But what were her tell us about her game. What were her strengths? Did she have any weaknesses? Because I believe she won the most tournaments that we're talking about tonight, if I'm thinking correctly.
Right. So, Kathy Whitworth has the most LPGA victories in, I believe it's 88. And he's right, 93 seconds. So we're looking at like 150 some odd top twos. It's just incredible what her career was like. By the time I was on tour and Kathy was playing a little bit, she was, well into her 50s, and just had this beautiful, long, flowing golf swing, beautiful putting stroke. She just was this elegant Texan, right? Most beautiful blue eyes, and one of the more approachable, kind people you could ever meet. There was not, there are some players that just are intimidating. Whit was not like that. She was just very welcoming. You always felt like you could talk to her, and her game was beautiful. You look back at some of the old clips of her playing, and her game was still beautiful in her 50s, and still hitting it fairly long, not as long as the young, powerful kids were. But yeah, just a really beautiful game. Just had this elegant golf swing, and it kind of permeated through the rest of her game too. Good short game, great putting stroke. So yeah, that's what I remember.
So we're going to move on to the player tonight that if you're an average golf fan, this is probably the name that you know tonight. Let's move on to Annika.
Yeah, I mean, Annika, where do you start with her? She's just unbelievable. So I have some notes here. So obviously, like you said, she's probably one of the more recognizable names in this day and age, especially for women's golf for sure. She was born in Sweden in 1970. She actually started junior golf, I think, at 12, and she had a really successful college career. She played for the University of Arizona, and she actually won the NCAA individual title as a freshman, which was a first for a freshman and for a foreigner, because she wasn't from there. She quickly burst on the LPGA scene in the early 90s. She got the Rookie of the Year award right away without even a win. She had so many top 2s and I believe a few top 10s as well. I mean, total, she has 72 LPGA wins with 10 majors, which is just crazy. I mean, that's just not, you don't hear that anymore. And she had 17 wins on the European Tour as well. And I know she had a couple others on like other professional tours. I think she has something around like total like 90 something wins, but I know the LPGA is 72. She has 8 Player of the Year awards. That's untouchable, I think, in my opinion. And obviously, the iconic 59 that she shot, and you can't go wrong with that. That was on March 16th of 01. It was round 2 of the Standard Register Ping event in Phoenix, Arizona on Moon Valley Country Club. That was just crazy. I think she had like 8 birdies in a row, I believe, on that round. Just unbelievable. In 308 starts, she only missed 10 cuts. It's like Tiger Woods-esque kind of right there. I mean, that's pretty special. She was inducted into the World Golf Hall of Fame at the age of 33. So still she played for a long time after that. At that time, she had 47 LPGA wins. So she went on to win like 20 something more after that. And obviously just recently she came back out of retirement and won the 2021 US Senior Women's Open. So she's still booked like just on fire right now at her age. And I mean, her early career was just crazy. I remember kind of watching the tail end of it when I was really young and just being like, she's something really special. She's definitely easily, obviously one of the best players ever in men's and women's golf.
So Soren Stam, if you want to learn more about that 59 that she shot, we did discuss that on a prior show with Olympic gold medalist Tessa Gobo. So check that out in the archives page. So Annika, I'm a firm believer that she had retired too early, because I think she would still be the best women's golfer if she was out there right now. She's that good. I'm sure you played with her. Your thoughts on her dominance, which was really for like a 20-year span. I mean, it just never ended.
Yeah, well, really good point. I think she retired early because much like a Mickey Wright, in the sense that she was so dominant for such a long period of time, and carrying that stress of trying to stay at the top and win every week can be a lot. And I think her divorce from David was difficult, and then she took on the whole challenge of playing a PGA Tour event at Congressional, not Congressional, in Texas at Colonial. And so she did so many things. I think it's unquestionable that she is the greatest player in our generation for sure. And, we'll debate that at the end of the other candidates. But yes, I have a lot to say about Annika. One of the things that people don't know about Annika is that, her first year on tour, she didn't have exempt status. So she had conditional status, which meant that she didn't get in every event. And I knew that status because I was in that status the year before. So, and I was slightly in that status after the reshuffle in 95. So you could two spot on a Monday if you weren't in the event. And so I think we had like 25 events that year, she may have gotten in 15, which meant, there were 10 more that she would have to qualify for on a Monday. She qualified now in two spots, and I usually have about 30 players. She two spotted every single time, won the qualifier on that Monday every single time. And then went on, to make the cut, finish in the top 5 frequently that entire year. So it was just the following. So I believe that was in 94 or 5. And then the following summer, she won the US Open. So that changed everything. But it didn't hold Annika back. And the fact that she qualified every single time on a Monday was just amazing. She never had a bad day on a Monday, that she was that motivated. She was driven, quiet, reserved, painfully shy. To see Annika blossom into this incredible ambassador for the LPGA Tour is one of the greater things that I've seen. She's really extended herself like no other, and has been, I think you would say, maybe taken the torch from someone like Patty Berg, who started it all, and now it's in the hands of people like Annika Sorenstam. So who, the fact that she's Swedish too is a kind of an amazing thing, because she's a worldwide ambassador, maybe not just an ambassador for the LPGA Tour. But yeah, if you look at Annika's career and, you compare it with, the 3 others that we're looking at today, but really when you know the history of the LPGA Tour, you look at Mickey Wright as that standard of excellence. And then you compare Annika's career with Mickey's career, and you start to delve into it, and you're just even more impressed with what Annika did in her time as a tour player. And it's great to see that even now that she's retired, that she has come back now to play some senior events, raising her children, and still super involved in the game. So she's doing her part and then some, I'd say. Yeah.
So the tough question.
That
Oh, go
tournament
ahead.
too. They just recently named that tournament after her, locally in Pelican. They named it after her, the Annika, which
Awesome.
I'm so excited for.
I know.
So,
It's great. That's great. Yeah.
So the tough question here for you, Paige. She's played a couple times against the men. Her accuracy is actually better than Phil Mickelson's. I've done research on this. A lot of the men's golfers, she has better accuracy. She doesn't have the distance, of course, but for some players, accuracy is better than the distance. But could she have competed if she had played full time in the men's? Would she have won a tournament here and there, or would she be middle of the pack in the men's?
On the PGA Tour, you mean?
Yes.
No, she wouldn't have been able to compete on the men's tour. It's just simply the golf courses are too long. And when she played at Colonial in Texas in Fort Worth, she picked the absolute perfect golf course that she could possibly compete at. And she played well.
She did.
Annika did not, she didn't curve the ball very well. And we simply don't have the swing speeds in order to impart the kind of spin on the golf ball to make it climb and that's why the men are so much better than the women in terms of ball striking. Even, it's still not equitable. And Laura Davies made this point too, that if the LPGA were to play golf courses at an equitable length, meaning, the men are hitting it 310, 320, that long now. So essentially all par 4s or all par 5s are reachable in 2 for them, almost all of them. So 4. So when they're teeing off, essentially par is almost 68. On the LPGA Tour, we're not seeing that. We might get home in one or two. I mean, even people like Nelly, now who are really long, and she's competing in some PGA Tour events. She did it this off season, and that's a whole nother conversation, is how good she really is, because she's able to actually create speeds in the hundreds, and therefore she can hit the ball higher, softer, with more spin. Annika can't do that. She couldn't do it then, and she can do it even less now because she's 53. So no, even on her very, very best day, on the very best golf courses, it'd be very, very difficult for her to compete and win at their level, and that's why.
Well, let's move on to our final player tonight, and that is the great Patty Berg. Born in 1918, so she is like the OG of this show tonight. So we're going way back. Sadly passed in 2006. She's got 60 wins all time on the tour. That has her 5th all time, which is actually last tonight. I will throw that. That's 12 behind Annika, who is in 3rd here tonight. But however, though, when it counted most, Patty is the GOAT. 15 majors. And I hate to say that golf is all based off of majors, but that's what everybody talks about. It's the majors, it's the green jacket, things like that. So she is the GOAT when it comes to that. And that includes the first ever woman to win the US Open there in 1946. So her awards are numerous, including the 1990, she won the Patty Berg Award. So it was named after her, and she didn't even win it till 1990, which I thought was kind of weird. There's like 15 winners before her. So named after her, and that's given to the individual who exemplifies diplomacy, sportsmanship, goodwill, and contributions to golf. She's also won the Bob Jones Award, which is golf's highest honor. That they consider it the highest honor in golf. So the Associated Press named her 3 times as the female athlete of the year. And as Brian said earlier, that's not just for golf, that's for every woman's sport. So that's a great stat to have for her, of course. She's the first president and founding member of the LPGA. So she's got those accolades going. If you don't think that she was the best on the course because her win total is a little lower tonight, I mean, I encourage you to look at the majors, of course, but you have to at least maybe look at her as golf's biggest contributor for women. So throw that into when you're thinking about who to vote tonight, the contribution to golf that this woman has given. And I'm just going to say it one more time, 15 majors. Okay. So tell us about Patty, obviously well before your time, well before all of our times, but just a true ambassador for the game.
No question. There's no greater ambassador for the game than Patty Berg. I mean, she is synonymous with the LPGA Tour. She is the founder. I mean, there's 13 founders, but she is the founder. And without her, I don't believe it would have gotten off to the start that it did and become what it is today. I had the great honor of seeing Patty Berg do a clinic. She did 16,000 clinics, I think it was. It was a ridiculous number of clinics. No, 1,600 clinics that she did around the country, promoting the game for the LPGA. And I was able to attend one of those. It was right here in Sarasota at the Meadows. It was probably about 1978, I'm guessing. And she couldn't have been more funny. She drew a huge crowd. She was such a character and had a beautiful golf game, just a beautiful golf swing. She was amazing. Most of the players in that era, they kind of had this beautiful weight shift and, really used their legs really well and kind of covered the ball beautifully. And she did all those things. So my last US Open I mentioned was in 06 or in 96. And I actually followed her around a little bit and, chatted with her a little bit in the locker room, because she would come to the US Open every year and greet all the players that were playing in the US Open. And I got to chat with her that day. And one year we were in Wilmington, Delaware, and she was there for that event. It was the LPGA Championship. And I'd come out of the trailer and she was there. And I said, Mrs. Berg, would you sign my hat? I'm a big fan. and I was being sponsored by Titleist, and she said, I'm Wilson, and I only sign anything that's with Wilson. She spent her entire career sponsored by Wilson. I said, no, I'm not sponsored by Wilson. She goes, and she signed it, Patty Wilson Berg. So she was quite a character. There's no one like her. She was just amazing. And as I look back, one of the beautiful things about YouTube is you can, go back and see in the archives some of these great videos of them, playing in the 1964 US Open or, whatever tournament it is, these great golf swings. And she just really embodied exactly what you would want in somebody who is going to lead the LPGA Tour. So I think Patty Berg is just phenomenal, and I think we're really lucky to have had her as the ambassador for the game. And having won 15 majors, that definitely puts her at the top. It makes you realize just how amazing Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus really are, because at 15 and 18 against the competition that they had, it's amazing, because Mickey's right behind her at 13, but Annika only has 10, and I think that is indicative of just how good the competition has gotten over time and just how deep the LPGA Tour really is.
Well, one more accolade for Patty. She also played against the men. I think it was twice. So just throw that out there. But
Did she?
Yeah.
She and Babes, I think, did a little bit of that together.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move into our vote tonight. And Brian, we say this all the time, like, oh, this is a tough vote, but tonight, like, it really is 1A, 1B, 1C.
Yeah.
So but you're up first. Pressure on you there.
Oh, absolutely. This is really, really difficult, and you're really splitting the hairs here. To me, I feel like Annika is the best golfer, the pure golfer we're talking about, but I think you have to include everything, all the contributions and everything, and you got to go with Patty on this one, just because of without her, where is women's golf? I mean, just a vital component to the sport and where it is today.
And just a reminder, can't vote for your own, guys, of course. So I was torn between all three of them tonight. Obviously, I'm going to say Patty's the best because I'm representing her, but between Mickey and Annika is really where I'm torn, and I think I'm actually going to go Annika, and it's for one reason. She shot a 59. That's incredible. Like, I double that sometimes when I'm out there on the course. So, that,
I mean, argue with a 59. That's
that's amazing. I mean, it was such a great feat that it actually won our prior show where we were doing greatest summer performance. It was just an incredible story, and only maybe 3 men I think have ever shot 59. So that's a crazy accomplishment. I'm going with Annika. Rollo.
So this boiled down between Mickey Wright, because she was dominant for so short a time, and Annika Sorenstam, but I got to go Annika because she actually played at the Colonial National Invitational, and if you know, those are like 125 of the best golfers in the world on the PGA Tour, and she beat 15 of them. She came in '96, but she beat 15 of the best golfers in the world, so she gets my vote.
Nicole.
This is tough. I'm not gonna lie. And honestly, Annika, I can't vote for her, but I kind of have a soft spot for her. I just adore her. I'm gonna have to go with Patty Berg. No, I know. Only because the majors, of course, and obviously because she, like Paige said, she really was just the start of the LPGA, and you can't really go wrong with that. So that's what I'm voting for.
Okay. So Paige, we come to you. You can vote for any of them. You can break the tie, however you want to go. You're the professional. That's why you're used to the pressure. So who are you taking?
Well, when I was touted with this task by you, Mickey Wright has always been the beacon to me as the greatest female golfer, the greatest golf swing, really the one that I looked up to as the player. But having really now looked at the careers of all these women, and they're all amazing. She won the VAR trophy, I think it was 6 times. That's, other than Kathy Whitworth, that's the most. But she also has the lowest scoring average at 68.8, I think. And she's won 72 times on the LPGA Tour, but she's won 97 times worldwide. So in this era, to have won that many times, to have won the VAR trophy with the lowest scoring average, she's won it 6 times. She's been Player of the Year 8 times. She shot 59. She's played on the PGA Tour. I think it really is solidified by those accomplishments that Annika is the best player who's ever played on the LPGA Tour. So I would have to give her the nod, even though I put Mickey Wright way up there in terms of her golf swing, her fundamentals, just everything about what she did. And she was also very, very quiet, much like Annika. And when she retired, she stepped away almost permanently. And so to get interviews with Mickey Wright later in her life was a feat. And she was, I won't use the word reclusive, but she was difficult to get to. And Annika is staying front and center, involved and promoting the game. And not that, Mickey should be condemned for not, but I think the fact that Annika's giving so much of herself to the game, promoting the game is great. And I think you'd have to look at her career and say, yeah, so far at this point, so far, it's the best there ever was. And, I give her the nod.
So Nicole, your first show and you get a win. Good for you. That's the way to roll.
Better than that.
And it makes sense that the woman who wins was the one that got to play with titanium, while the rest of us had to represent wood clubs. So that's that didn't help our cause any. But so Nicole, you get first question tonight in our Q&A for Paige, and then we'll go Rollo, Brian, me.
Oh my gosh, I have so many questions because you did exactly what I want to do.
All right.
So let me think. I'd say I'm gonna make this kind of simple, but because I don't want to overwhelm it. But what is life on tour like? Like what is the grind like? Because I know it's so much different, obviously, and it's your profession, it's your job. So what is it like out there?
Yeah, life on tour is nomadic. I think what's really important is that I would say the second year on tour is always easier than the first, because you know where you're going, you know where to stay, you know who your caddy is, you kind of get a feel for it as the years go on, and it does get easier. You may stay with families at this place or at this event, and you stay in a hotel at another, and you get more comfortable with that. I think it's important that you know which tournaments to play, which ones to sit out. You can't play every week consecutively. You need certain breaks. So you have to figure that out as it goes. And as I look at the LPGA now, I think I was counting up their events. It's 35 now, with a total purse of many, many millions. So it's hard to turn down tournaments when you're playing for that much money, but you have to give your body, your mind, your spirit the chance to rejuvenate after you've played so many weeks in a row. For me, it was 4. I could never play more than 4. I needed to go home. I needed to, kiss the dog and feel my stuff and all of that. So it is nomadic. It's exciting. It's a great journey. I know that when I first started playing, I felt like I was on this great adventure, and I was able to play all over the world and get to see a lot of the world, which was one of the great perks of playing on tour. And then once I got on the LPGA Tour, same thing. You're in a different city every week, and you've got to find that family, your group of friends. I think you really count on your nucleus of friends, or your team, or whoever that might be, and you find some really good friends to be with. And because even though it is like a traveling circus, there's 144 of you, you have to have a small group of very close, good friends that you can count on.
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I kind of make a good point with you said how like the second year is easier. I just went to Q school for the first time last year, and my dad was like, yeah, I think next year will be like more kind of easier and easier to process because you've been there, seeing the courses. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It always is easier, and you'll get more comfortable with it the more you do it. And yeah, just you got to go through it. There's no easy way to help somebody. You got to experience it, but
yeah,
be prepared. You know, check the weather before the week arrives. Know, you know, what you're going to be faced with. The more knowledge you have, the better you are prepared. And, you know, so just prepare yourself with all the knowledge you possibly can, and surround yourself with people that you really trust and love.
Thank you for that answer. That was really awesome.
Go ahead, Rollo.
Paige, you won the 86 national title in individual golf, and you were also inducted into the National Golf Coaches Hall of Fame. Which one of those accolades to you do you hold more dear to your heart?
Well, that's easy. The national championship in 86, I shared that with a team championship. So not only did I win the individual national championship, we won it as a team at Florida. And we were at the Scarlet course in Ohio, at Ohio State. We won, we beat Miami, and we kind of came, no, we didn't. Yeah, we did. We came from behind the last day to kind of solidify the victory. So being able to celebrate an individual victory with my team, and we had won it the year before too. So it was back-to-back national championships for Florida. So those were really the glory years. I had great teammates and great coach, and just the best school. You know, I had an opportunity to go to school at a number of different, places. And I didn't want to go to Florida because my brother was there and he was playing golf. He was 2 years older than I was. He was on the men's golf team. I'd followed Scott through school my entire life. So, I visited Georgia and Texas and SMU and other schools. And I kind of thought I was going to go to SMU, and I saved my last visit to go to Florida. And when I got there, I was just so blown away by the support of the coaches, the administrators, the trainers, all the facilities. It was just, boy, my heart was bleeding orange and blue by the time I left that weekend. And I knew that that's where I wanted to be. And I never looked back. I knew it was the best decision I ever made. I think I would have been happy anywhere I went, but to be able to be at Florida and play for the Gators was just the greatest 4 years.
But Paige, viewership for women's golf, it went up 32% from 2021 to 2022, according to the Golf Channel. And according to the National Golf Foundation, the percentage of women on the course is up 25%. How can women's golf keep this momentum going? And would you have any suggestions for them to gain even more popularity?
Great question. That's interesting statistics. I didn't know that, but I can see it happening. I think if there was anything good of COVID and some of the shutdowns, it was that golf had a rejuvenation in popularity with, across the board, not just women, but women were a huge part of that. So I think we've made it a mission to make golf more accessible for women to come out and feel comfortable doing. Women's golf leagues, the Women's Business League. So there are different organizations that are trying to bring women out onto the golf course to where they feel like it's a less threatening environment. And I also think Topgolf there's a number of things. They're trying to do little leagues where it's just 3 holes, or if it's just a scramble. And so all of those things I think are factors. I think across the board that we are trying to be more inclusionary of women in all avenues of sport and all avenues of business. So I think that those things where golf is concerned, will continue. I think we will see more women. I don't know what else we could do other than some of the things that we're doing now. But, you know, people like Annika, and I think too, you know, if you look at the LPGA Tour, it's never been in a better place. You've got great players who are speak well, are attractive, incredibly powerful, engaging. I think the one thing the LPGA Tour does really well is they engage their fans. They've had to, because it's part of the mission to, you know, grow the tour, is you have to be interacting with your sponsors and your fans, and where the PGA Tour is pretty set, pretty solidified, and it doesn't have to work so hard. The LPGA has worked hard at those things. I think they're reaping the benefits of that, but just the fact that their best players are so great at all of those things. They're, you know, the Lexi Thompsons, the Jin Young Ko's, the Lydia Ko's, the Corda sisters. They're amazing. I mean, they're not just amazing golfers; they're amazing people. And thus far, they've, you know, kind of steered away from some of the controversies that we are maybe seeing with the PGA Tour and Live Golf and some of that. So right now, I see the LPGA as continuing to grow. And I think as the LPGA Tour grows, I think women in getting involved in the game, I think that grows as well.
So your coach at Florida, Mimi Ryan, she is the founder of ladies golf at Florida, University of Florida, for the Gators. What did it mean to you? I know you went on to coach at Vanderbilt. So what did it mean to you to, you know, not just join her in the Gators Hall of Fame, but you also joined her in that Coaches Hall of Fame? And, you know, what did you learn from her that you use in your coaching?
Coach Ryan was a pretty hands-off coach, in the sense that she really allowed you to be who you were, and she didn't force any of her, you know, thoughts or techniques, but she did bring in some of the best people, the best trainers, the best sports psychologists, and so I incorporated, you know, that in my coaching when I was at Vanderbilt, for sure. Bringing in people to help us be a better team individually. Everybody better makes us a better team. So I incorporated that. She's still a great friend and a mentor. And, you know, we were trying to get together with all of her team. All of her teams over the years. Right before COVID hit, I planned a real special surprise birthday party. We had people flying in from all over the country, and then COVID hit and it didn't happen. So that was disappointing. But yes, she is a real icon at Florida, and she had a great career there, and no one's come close to it since. And we're rooting for Emily to win her first national championship there. And, you know, it's harder now than ever to get kids, you know, to stay for 4 years and kind of build that team unity that's necessary to win a national championship. And it's getting even more difficult, because this is a whole nother show for you, Michael, but it's getting even more difficult because now with the transfer portal, when, you know, someone's not happy, they transfer. So college golf has got its own issues, and it's not just college golf. I think college athletics has got its own issues now, and we're seeing it play out. And we'll hopefully, I don't know that it'll get better, because I don't think the NCAA has really the power to do much anymore. It seems.
Nicole, go ahead. You can take one more.
Yeah. Okay. So you went to Q school, right?
I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you played in the one that's in Palm Springs, stage 1. You played that course.
You know, I never had to do that because I was able to get through here in Florida. It was in Venice.
What's like obviously you have to be playing well that week at Q school, but what's like maybe some little secret, maybe tips you had while you were there to try to lower your score to make that cut? Because it's a super fine line there with the cuts they have.
It is a fine line, yes. So you have to look at Q school. I mean, it's it's absolutely true that if things don't go well at Q school, I'm relegated to another year playing somewhere else or doing something. Well, if that's the case, then that may be meant to be. So you have to do everything you can to take the pressure off the reality of it's do or die. But it's not really do or die. If you're playing well, you're going to get through Q school no problem. And that's what you're meant to do. So the real point of it then is, how do I continue to get better, drive the ball straighter, hit more greens, proximity to the hole, putting, up and down percentage. How do I improve all of those things little by little? You got to make sure that your goals are very process oriented, because if you're very process oriented in your goals, you're going to achieve what your long-term goals are. So you stay short-term, and when Q school, rolls around and you go to tee it up, say, hey, I've been playing tournaments all year, and I'm going to do the same thing I've done all year, which is one shot at a time, do the best that I can, visualize every shot before I hit it, accept the result, try and keep my emotions in check, all the things that we have to do to play good golf, stay in my own bubble. And if you do those things, you're going to do the best that you could possibly do at Q school. You don't want to get to Q school and play poorly. So if you've gone to Q school and you play poorly, then you didn't stick to the things that you need to do to play well, which you are trying to do every week that you play in an event. That's why we play in events, to get ready for, big ones that really mean a lot to us. And so, yeah, we try and keep it as normal as possible. And that'll be a reoccurring theme throughout your career is, when you play in your first US Open or your 5th US Open, like, well, it's just another tournament. I'm still golf. Yeah.
Great. That's great advice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we want to thank she's a Florida women's golf legend. Thank you, Paige Dunlap, so much for coming on. We really appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Well, I really enjoyed it. This was really nice. You have a great podcast. You're doing a great job. So thanks for having me on.
Thank you. We appreciate that. I'll remind everybody, hit that like and subscribe button. We'll see y'all next time. Have a great night.